Greetings, shalom, good morning. Greetings and shalom, good morning to everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in. Shalom, greetings. Many blessings and grace to you all. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for tuning in. Grace to you all. Greetings, shalom, many blessings to you all. Good afternoon. To all my brothers and sisters out there, what's going on? I'm excited to be amongst you, to be amongst the living. And I thank the Father for waking me up, which lets me know that I still have a job to do, and that is to bring glory to his name, and as well as preach the good news, preach the gospel, that brothers and sisters may come into repentance, as well as receiving the one and only begotten Son of the true and living God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I thank all of you for tuning in. It's definitely a fabulous, great morning. Happy birthday to Pops Curry. Out there, many more, much wisdom given. You are definitely a jewel in the community for many of us, keeping us balanced as well as speaking into our lives. And we thank you for that. What's going on, everybody? Stay tuned, stay locked in. I want to talk to you from a subject on today is, why are you studying? Why are you studying, and what is your motive? Why are you studying, and what is your motive? What's going on, Brother Ralph? What's going on? All my brothers and sisters, how y'all doing? Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Apostle Alicia, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate all of you and your time. It's truly a blessing, and I thank all of you for tuning in. You could be doing whatever, but you decided to come together and fellowship and study the scriptures. Love all of you with the love of Christ. Invite and share. Invite and share. I have to start putting it up on there. I usually don't put up invite and share and, X amount of people. I see a lot of people do that. That may be something I have to adopt. But good morning to you all. Thank you all. Thank you all. What's going on, Sister Aisha? Y'all out there on that road, man. Enjoy the road. Enjoy the fellowship with your husband out on that road. And I see you guys having Bible study and stuff like that. That is truly awesome. Boom, family in the house. I miss you guys already and look forward to seeing you. Sister Christina Carlton. What's going on? I'm not going to be before you long. I want to try to get everybody in before we get started. And before we get started here really quick, and today's topic of conversation is, why are you studying, and what is your motive? Why are you studying, and what is your motive? I was getting ready and prepared for this lesson, and Sister Christina Carlton inboxed me, and she said, I'm watching this particular brother's page, who is a Muslim. I'm watching his page, and you got to go check out this madness. So from time to time, I get that from brothers and sisters hitting me up saying, come check out the madness. And so sometimes I don't, if it's frequent, I don't entertain a lot of it because I may have something going on. But it was from her. She's never inboxed me and hit me up and said anything to that nature. I say, well, man, let me check this out. This is the first time the sister has hit me up. So I went on the page, and lo and behold, the brothers are Muslim, so he had Brother Minister Farrakhan on speaking. And there's some things, don't get me wrong, I'm not Muslim. I don't subscribe to majority of their doctrine or ideologies or things of that nature. But there are some things that I do believe that Minister Farrakhan does say for us as a people that he does have valid points on, and I would agree with him in that area. What's going on, Elder Greg Kirkland? So it was fitting because the scriptures, or the sister told me to go check out the subject in which he was talking about, as well as the lesson on today in which I was digging into. And so I had put up a couple posts. I put up a post this morning about Esau. This is crazy. I did a post about Esau and the conversation and what we have and how we always talking about Esau. And so I was getting ready to do a lesson on why are we studying? What's our motive? And then the sister inboxed me. I don't know if she saw the post I put up this morning about Esau, but Farrakhan was talking about the same thing that I just was saying. Why do we spend so much time talking about Esau? Okay, here's the thing. The question that I ask is, and I'm asking to all of you and all of those who subscribe to the Bible, who subscribe. I'm not talking about non-believers. Even Muslims agree to a certain extent when it comes to the Bible. But I'm talking to you brothers and sisters that believe the text. We're talking about the volume of the book. Okay? You believe that Christ is your Messiah. You believe that you believe in Moses, or Moses delivered. You believe the Old Testament, whether you subscribe to that, because there are people who just totally just thrown out the Old Testament and they only subscribe to the New Testament. Then there's those who only subscribe to the Old Testament, but have thrown away the New Testament. I'm talking about you, brothers and sisters, that teach from the Old and the New Testament, whether I've said I'm going to stop the Hebrew and Christian type thing. I'm talking to you brothers that claim that y'all believers in the Mashiach. Okay? Whatever you subscribe to in your personal time or outside of this conversation. I'm talking to you. Why are you studying? What is the motive behind your study? Because many of you sound like Farrakhan. You talk about the white man so much till you don't have time to even teach or do what Christ gave us commission to do. As I told you, when you search the scriptures and you look throughout the 4 gospels, how many times does Christ talk about Esau? How many times does Christ talk about the white man, the Asian man? Like, how many times do you see him talking about the Persians? How many times do you see him talk about the Egyptians? How many times do you see him talking about the Greeks? All of these captivities that Israel went through, not only that, but they were currently under subjection, under bondage of the Romans. They are, listen to me, I want y'all to hear this. They are under the Romans when he comes. They had been under the Egyptians. They had been under the Medes and Persians. They had been under the Babylonians. They had been under the Greeks. And currently, when the Son of Man comes on the scene, they are currently under another regime of another nation who is suppressing them, who have put leaders in place to continue to suppress them through religious views or through their own adding of traditions to the Torah. And yet not once did the Messiah even talk about the Medes and Persians. Not once did he talk about the Egyptians. Not once did he talk about the Babylonian captivity. Not once did he talk about the Greeks. Not once did he even talk about the current Romans. Not one. And yet you are still under a suppressive system, and all you talk about is the past nations that you were suppressed under. And all you do is talk about the current nation that you're suppressed under. You ain't talking about the gospel. You ain't talking about salvation. All you ain't talking about is get back. And if anybody have the authority to talk about get back, it's the Christ. And yet not one time do you hear him talking about get back. He didn't spend his time teaching people about the big payback. He didn't spend his time talking to people, talking to Israel about the big payback. But you say you follow the apostles' doctrine. You say that you follow the Christ. And yet you spend your time talking more of things that he didn't talk about. And you're not even dealing with these areas that is of concern. He was talking to them about living right. Stop being wicked and sinning. Because you know why? He understood one thing. He understood the reason why you was in the current bondage that you were in. Because you were disobedient. He didn't have time to talk about these other nations. He was talking about the spiritual captivity that you were in. You were in a captivity of sin. That's what he spent this time talking about. And you have people who just brushing away that sin is no longer a captivity. That sin still has no factor within the New Testament. That once Christ died and elevated, is that, oh, sin has no issue, no problem. Just ignore sin existing. Just ignore sin being a problem amongst the people. This is the reason why you have conversations and people teaching the way they teach. Why are you studying? Why are you studying? What is the motive behind your study? Are you studying to prove how much you know? Are you studying to prove that you can debate against every other religion, every other doctrine and religion because you're trying to uphold Christianity? Christ didn't tell you to defend Christianity. He told you to defend the gospel. He didn't tell you to defend Hebrewism. He told you to defend the kingdom. That's what he's talking about. And yet you got it wrong. You got it wrong. You got it wrong. Because everybody is trying to defend their sect because they're trying to recruit members. This is the problem. This is why those who teach the kingdom, this is the reason why they don't fit into none of your boxes. Even Christ didn't want to deal with none of y'all boxes. Even John the Baptist didn't want to deal with none of your boxes. I would rather stay out in the wilderness by myself, just me and God, out here by myself, eating locusts and honey. I don't want to eat none of y'all fine foods. I don't want to hang out with none of y'all folks. I don't want to deal with none of y'all because all of y'all got boxes and everybody trying to point fingers at whoever got what right and all this stuff. I don't want to deal with none of y'all. And if Christ was here today, he wouldn't deal with none of y'all. In fact, he's probably shaking his head more than he's applauding because what y'all teaching and what y'all talking about and the motive behind your study got him shaking his head saying, what type of teaching is this? What type of gospel is this? This is not the instructions that I gave. This is why the disciples are going to judge the 12 tribes because all of y'all, let me tell y'all Hebrew brothers something. You think you better make sure that you teaching the gospel. You better make sure that you're teaching the apostles' doctrine. You better make sure that you're teaching righteousness with balance and teaching grace. You better make sure that you have it right. Because guess what? When them apostles sit up there and they call you to the front, you claim to be Hebrew. Okay, come on to the front. When them brothers sitting up there at the table, sitting on their thrones, and they open up the book of what was given to them, and they look at your life and they say, okay, you was preaching what you considered the gospel. Now let's see there's a lineup. When they start judging your behind on what you were saying out your mouth that the Father never told you to say, it's going to be major problem for you. It's going to be major problems for you. It's going to be major problem for you. This is why I keep telling brothers, don't be so quick to run out here and teach. If your spirit ain't developed and you haven't spent time with the Father, don't be going out here trying to teach. You know why? Because when you go out here trying to teach, you're going to be held accountable for every single word that you said out of your mouth. Every single word you said out your mouth. Paul didn't talk about Esau but one time. And you know why? He was proving a point or giving an example or a demonstration. You don't see Paul teaching all throughout his letters talking about no Esau. You don't see Paul teaching all throughout his letters, talking all about the Hamites and the Jebusites and the Hivites and the Koreans. And you don't see them talking like that. Because why? They spoke what the Spirit told them to speak. You have a whole lot of people just teaching fleshly, man, with information. All right? Teaching fleshly with information. Christ wasn't no Christian. Let's get that straight. Okay? Let's get that understood. He wasn't coming here to defend what you call Christianity. He wasn't coming here to defend your so-called Hebrew doctrine. He came with a mission and a purpose. That's why he don't talk like you. And that's why you don't talk like him. Because you're not doing and teaching what was instructed. Now, is anything wrong with history? Absolutely not. There's nothing wrong with historical information. But historical documents, historical information should be a complement to the primary teaching and the complement to the primary information that was given to us in the commission. Go make disciples of men. I need to help develop you with how to live a life, all right? So your behind don't think about going back out here and blowing somebody's brains out again. So you don't think about going to rob the liquor store again. So I need to make sure that you don't go around here sleeping with every man again. You're on your fourth husband, all right, and you're working on your fifth. Okay, I need to be in a place to be able to teach you how not to deal with committing suicide. I need to be able to teach you how to deal with when your children are dealing with all type of alternative lifestyles. I need to be able to teach you. That is what Christ was teaching them brothers. He wasn't teaching them about nothing about no big payback. Okay, he didn't have time to teach you about the big payback. For one, if you understand history and you understand prophecy and you know what's going to happen, why do you even have to continue to make that your primary conversation? You don't have to make that your primary conversation. Your primary conversation is to follow what the scriptures is showing you, okay, based on what the commission was given. Even the prophets of old didn't go around here talking about previous captivities. Okay, you didn't hear them talking about death to the Egyptians and they didn't do all of that stuff. Every time the Father sent them, they went to the people who was being wicked. Okay, who was being wicked, and that was Israel. Israel was being wicked, and guess what? Every time a prophet came up, y'all better get your act together, or the Father gonna send a nation against you. Y'all better get your act together. You better get yourself right. You better stop doing this. You better stop committing whoredom in the land. You better stop weeping for Tammuz. You better stop doing all this other stuff. They didn't have time to be talking about what no other nation was doing. If your behind decide to say you're going to accept Christ and accept his Father's word, okay, now you have an obligation to be obedient to what he said. So regardless of what you look like, I'm going to come to you and say, this is how you should be living according to the scriptures. You need to get your act together, okay? And you need to deal with the situation. I don't have time to talk about what's coming to this person and what's coming to that person, okay? If it's to bring you to a point of example and it's going to help you get your life together, absolutely correct. I'll use that, but that ain't going to be my primary way of feeding you. My primary way of feeding you is not going to be all this other stuff. And you see people, they ride here stuff. And let me tell you something. These debates is a waste of time, okay? I done tuned into so many people debates. It's fruitless. People they talking about the same thing. They make no sense doctrinally. Or it's a good laugh. And everybody is cheerleading, trying to defend a person that they just agree with. They ain't agreeing with them on scriptures. They're agreeing with them because this person is the champion in their community. Christ wouldn't even deal with that. Christ wouldn't even deal with this mess. He wouldn't even deal with half this mess that we doing and saying and entertaining and being involved in. Christ wouldn't even deal with it. He wouldn't even be dealing with that. All right? He wouldn't even be dealing with that. Folks be trying, every time the Pharisees want to try to debate him, he'll shoot them with a 2-line word or shoot them with a parable and went on about his business. I ain't got time to debate you. You're not even my equal when it comes to the spirit, and you're not even my equal when it comes to the information. So it's a waste of time. I'm not dealing with you. I'm not dealing with you. You can say what you want to say about me, call me a heretic, do all that other stuff you want. But I'm going to be doing the work. And while I'm doing the work, the spirit is going to be manifesting, showing who doing the talking and who doing the work. All right. At the end of the day, it's two people. You got talkers and you got workers. You got talkers and you got workers. You have talkers and you have workers. People who spend more time talking than working, I don't have time for you. I don't have time for you. Because talkers going to make excuses. Talkers going to breed jealousy, breed envy. Talkers don't want the truth to go forward. Talkers just doing all a bunch of talking to make themselves look good. They're not going to be about results spiritually and people's lives being changed. All right, even though they will know that you're teaching the truth, yet they still won't admit it because it's all about what they have to say to make them look good. They're not going to do anything to draw any attention away from them. They're not going to do it. Almost a form of narcissism. Okay, now the question is, what is your motive? What is your motive? Why are you studying? What is your motive? And why are you studying? What is your motive? And why are you studying? Have no problem with heritage. I teach it, but I don't go around here teaching it because I want to. I've come into a place where I say, Father, whatever you want me to teach, you open the door for me to do it. I'm not going around trying to just make nothing happen. So if you see me teaching heritage, or you see me teaching whatever I teach different subjects, it's because the Father put it on somebody's heart to tell me, to call me in to teach it. If I'm teaching about spiritual gifts, I just don't go around here teaching about spiritual gifts. Okay? I just don't go around here teaching about grace. All this other stuff. That's not my primary area is speaking what the Father says speak. Now, yes, I have a gift. Yes, I have an office in which I function in. But guess what? Guess what? That doesn't determine all of what I teach. If the Father opened up a door for me to teach area, this is why you study and let the Spirit deal with you. Okay? Because if you're going into an area, you just don't go in there taking what you want them to know. Because that particular people may need something else. They may not need you to talk about we the children of Israel. That may not help them. That may not deliver. They may be in a situation about to kill themselves. So what you gonna do? You gonna run in there talking about, oh, you know, your forefather Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. No. I need to impart in you what the Spirit is telling me. Because if the Spirit not telling me to say that, then I'm bucking against what God has me there for in the first place. Again, have balance. There's nothing wrong with teaching heritage. It's nothing wrong with teaching about spiritual gifts. It's nothing wrong with about teaching about Christ and all this. There's nothing wrong about teaching the Torah and all this and history and all this. There's nothing wrong with that. But make sure that you are doing what Christ said. He says, I speak nothing of myself. Not because I'm hyped about it. Not because it makes me feel good. Not because it's the popular thing that everybody's talking about. But I teach and I say what the Father instructs me. Why? Because the Father knows everybody need and what they need. So if he knows that what everybody needs, then I have to be so spiritually in tune with him to the point to where when he called my name, I can say, I'm here, Lord. Just like Ananias, just like all the other prophets before. I'm here, Lord. What is it would you have me to do? What is it that you would have me to do? When you wake up in the morning, you should put your feet on, but when you open your eyes, Lord, what is it that you would have me to do today? What is it that you would have me to say today? Holy Spirit, Ruach HaKodesh, what is it are we going to do today? Who lives are we going to help change today? I'm not waking up asking him for stuff for myself. I'm waking up asking him for stuff for others because I understand if I'm obedient, the stuff that I want and the stuff that I don't even ask for is going to be given to me anyway. It's going to be given to me anyway. The stuff that I want and the stuff that I ain't even asked for is going to be given to me anyway if I'm obedient to what he told me to do and how he told me to live. It's just as simple as that. It's not a hard thing. Doors going to continue to open for you when you speak what he tell you to speak, when you're obedient to what he told you to do. You ain't got to worry about knocking on nobody door and asking them for nothing. Asking them to let you do this and let you do that. No, not to worry about that because the Father going to put it on people's hearts to call you. Okay? Let's keep rolling. Now let's get into the scriptures here. Let's look at, let's go to 2 Timothy. I want to go to 2 Timothy. Why are you studying and what is your motive? Why are you studying and what is your motive? Why are you studying and what is your motive? This question should be asked to any and everybody that claim they believe in Christ and they claim that they follow the scriptures. Why are you studying? Some of y'all study more than y'all pray. Some of y'all study more than y'all pray. And you wonder why you got it wrong. The Spirit is what's going to give you the clarification and the revelation of what you're reading. You can't study more than you praying. Your study life cannot supersede your prayer life. It can't do that. Your study life cannot supersede your prayer life. Reason why, shalom to you all, the reason why is because you're information driven. You're not spirit led. You're information driven. You are information driven and not spirit led. And so if you don't have information, then you're bored. If you don't have information, then it becomes a problem. You're mad at everybody else. When you don't have information, you'll go listen to 20 or 30 people, different voices, because you're searching for information. You're not searching for the Spirit. You're not searching God. You're not searching Yah. You're not searching after his heart. You're not a man or a woman after his heart when all you do all day, every day is listening to everybody and see what information they got. You're not. And that's why you continue to run and chase after things. And that particular situation is going to run you right into false doctrine. It's going to run you right into a lifestyle that's contrary to righteousness. Because all you're doing is seeking information. All you're doing is seeking information. 2 Peter chapter number 2. Let's look at this here. Why are you studying and what is your motive? Verse number 1. Listen to this right here. Thou therefore, my son. Listen to this intimate conversation. This is a man who is taking his son, taking a one who is not his biological son, but is now taking one who the Spirit has revealed that this is his son by the Spirit. And so there's another level of conversation. When you see someone as your son, as your child, there is another form of conversation. The way you talk with them, the way you deal with them. When you find someone that is your spiritual brother and your sister, there's some of you have spiritual brothers and sisters that you are more connected to than your natural brothers and sisters. Some of you have that. Some of you will call your spiritual brothers and sisters before you will call your natural brothers and sisters about different situations. When there's something going on in your life, you will pick up the phone and rather call them. But that's the Father telling you that these are your spiritual brothers and sisters, your spiritual siblings that I connected you to. That's why y'all vibe the way y'all vibe. It's the same thing with a parent and a son or a daughter. It's a different level of vibe that goes with that spiritually, to where when that person speaks to you, they speak to you and you know that it's coming from the Father. It's a spirit. It's a level of wisdom. It's wisdom that comes from on high. It's not something that they just say to you just to be saying. And so we have to get back to a place, and I'm talking to a lot of brothers, I'm talking to a lot of Hebrew brothers right now and sisters. Y'all have to get back to the place. We've allowed people to make us think that the Spirit is an emotion. Everything is not emotion, and everything is not spirit. But when you grown and you understand and you recognize the Spirit, and there's a development spiritually, you know the difference. You know when there's somebody speaking carnally and when there's somebody speaking by the Spirit, when you've matured. When you matured. We have to get to that understanding again. Now we got to the place where we look at that's my co-equal. I can't receive nothing from him or her because I look at them as my equal. Okay, carnally, you can say that. But there's some people that the Father put in your life that you are not spiritually equal to them because they are more mature spiritually than where you're at. And if the Father put that person in your life, then when they speak to you, regardless if y'all could be the same age, wisdom and the Spirit is not by age. And so we look at this, we see this situation with Paul and Timothy. We see this situation. The reason why the Father sent Ananias to Paul was because Ananias was more mature spiritually, and Paul needed someone who was mature spiritually to bring him to a place of development so he can grow spiritually. And Paul did the same thing when it comes to Timothy. So we see here right here in 2 Timothy chapter number 2, verse 1. Look what he says. He says, therefore, my son, I have you at heart. Everything you do is a part of me. Everything you do, not only that represents the Father, but I have an obligation of being one who's placed in your life to give you some wisdom. I'm not going to allow you to go down the path of studying in vain just to make yourself look good. I'm not going to give you the opportunity to go down the path of having bad motives in your study. As one who see what you're doing spiritually is not lining up, is incorrect, I have to come to you and tell you that's not right. That's not the path. But if you view it as your equal, you're not going to receive it. And therefore, you're walking towards the cliff of destruction. You're walking towards the cliff of destruction. Look at what he says right here in verse number 1. Therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus, or Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. Look at this. Look at what he says. He says, therefore, be strong and don't abuse the grace. Be firm in that grace. Know that you could have been dead, but guess what? The Father saw fit for you to be in the time in which you're living right now. Be strong in the grace. Don't abuse the grace. Appreciate the grace. Embrace the grace. Establish that grace in your life. Know that you could have been dead. You had a lot of brothers and sisters along the way that fell off and died. You were a former gang member. You were a former crack addict. You were a former prostitute. You were a former all types of things that was wicked. And yet your brothers and sisters you hung out with in the streets, they all died around you. But yet you at the place right now where you're at because you have an obligation that the Father have called you to preach the gospel. And therefore, he sent me in your life because I see your path and where you going. I'm not here to hold you back or hold you down, but I'm here to help guide you so you don't have to go through some things that you don't have to go through. There's some things in life that you have no choice but to go through. And there's some things in life that you can avoid from going through. I'm here to help you avoid going down a path and going down a road that you don't have to go through. That you don't have to go through. Now, there's already paths laid that the Father had that you have no choice but to go through. We see Abraham, the same situation. Go and I'll show. I'm going to guide you. But I ain't say it was going to be easy. You had to go through your trials of becoming the father of faith, the father of many nations. You had to go down that path. Moses, I called you, but you had to go down this path. Yes, it's going to be rough. Joshua, I told you you're going to have the promised land, but yet you got to fight. I'm going to be with you in the fight. There's some things that you just have no choice but to go through. And I'm going to be with you. It may seem rough, but you ain't been abandoned. Paul tells Timothy, hey, listen, son, because it's an intimate, serious conversation that he's about to have. Son, listen to me, son. He says, be strong in the grace. They understood it. This is not just a grace of your own. This grace came by the way of the Messiah. So be strong into that because his blood was shed for you to have an opportunity to live not only in your carnal being, but also in an everlasting state when your mission and your job is done. But guess what? You're still a young whippersnapper. And I've been down the roads and the path that you've been down. So let me help assist you along your path, because your path may be a little different from mine. But I have the obligation to help make sure that you arrive to your destination on time. I have been called for that obligation. Look what he says right here. Verse number 2. And the things that thou hast heard of me. Listen to this. Listen. The Father don't put people in your life with a bad reputation. Man, come on. I need y'all to hear this. I need somebody to hear it. I don't care if one person receive what I'm saying. One person. The Father don't put people in your life to help you go down the path and to help you get to your destination who has a bad reputation. No, he don't do that. He don't do that. Because he understands in his wisdom that people are going to try to find and use everything that's not credible to discredit you. And it's not so much of the people, it's the spirit that is holding the people captive, using them, because people relate to people. And if somebody simply says something bad against you because you're around a person that don't have great credibility, they will try to use the person that's not credible to just destroy your name. And so the Father, in his wisdom, he understands, no, I don't want my son. I'm not going to use this person to be around, to be the parent in my child's life, to help them because they have a great calling on their life. They need to make sure the brothers and sisters, them apostles, them disciples, they had somebody in their life that was credible. Okay? What happened when Paul was called? When the other brothers simply said, is not this Paul the one who was out here persecuting believers? And guess what? You had Barnabas, great credibility. You had Ananias, great credibility. They say, hold on, brothers. This brother has been called. How do we know that that Ananias had great credibility? Is because when soon as the Lord called him, he said, I'm here, Lord. He didn't have to ask. He had been matured in the Lord to know his voice from the Lord's voice, to know other voices. The problem is we have so many people listen to so many voices, they don't know the difference between their voice, the crowd voice, and Hasatan voice. And so they just move on what they think is the right thing to do and end up finding themselves in a ditch and in a hole because they listen to the crowd voice and they listen to other voices, because the Father voice does not compete with nobody else. It don't compete with nobody else. That's why you have to make sure that you know it's him talking and not other voices. How do you learn that? Spending time with him. Your prayer life has to supersede your study life. Your fast life has to supersede your study life. So when you study, boom, it starts coming. The revelation start coming. Revelation start coming. Revelation start coming. You have to make sure that. Let's keep reading. Look what it says. Verse number 2. And the things that thou hast heard of me, he said, listen, remember the grace, stand strong in the grace. Not only that, stand strong in the grace of the one who redeemed you, but also remember my reputation. Don't do what I wouldn't do. Don't say what I wouldn't say. The problem is we have a whole lot of folks saying what the people who developed them are saying. They're not saying what the Father is saying. We know that Paul, the Spirit is with him. And so he's teaching Timothy. He's teaching believers. All right, listen. Remember my reputation and what I did and the things that I did. The problem is whoever trained you and developed you, you all of a sudden take on their characteristics. You take on the characteristics of the person that is molding you and developing you. You begin to take on their characteristics. So if you hate the person you develop, that's why Christ said, he said, listen, y'all go around here, y'all travel to the ends of the earth trying to find one convert, and y'all make that one convert 10 times more of a devil than they were before you found them. Because you are a devil, and you got the spirit of Hasatan on you. So the person that's a babe, who's not spiritually developed, who's not strong enough, they take on your characteristics. They take on your characteristics. And they start preaching like you, teaching like you, saying all kind of craziness like you. That's why we see all this craziness out here. On both sides of the fence. Look what it says. He says, verse number 2. He said, remember me. Remember the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses. So it's not as though one person co-signing you. When a person when somebody mention your name, it should be enough people who have been around you to see your walk, to be able to say, Nah, not Brother Majors. Not Brother Majors. Not Brother Majors. Not Sister Evelyn. Not Sister Caroline. Not Sister Esther. Not Sister Rosemary. Not Brother Roy. Not any of these brothers. Not Apostle Curry. Not these. It should be enough people around you when people start raising their voice against you and start laying claims at your feet. It should be enough people around saying, nah, bro, you got the wrong one. You got the wrong one, bro. You got the wrong one. Not that, not her, not him. So listen to what Paul says. He says, and the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men. He said, the way you saw me operate and the way you saw me walk, you should commit that same requirement to other men. The way you see Christ walk and the things that Christ said out of his mouth and the way he taught and the doctrine that he gave, you should be teaching men the same thing. You have to apply that same blueprint to men. This is how we're supposed to walk. This is how we're supposed to talk. This is how we're supposed to teach. This is how we're supposed to treat people around us. This is how. But if we continue to get caught up in and we want to teach from our pain, let me tell y'all something, man. You can't teach from your hurt. You can't teach from your hurt. When you teach from your hurt, you become an enemy of God. Because then you start saying things that he never told you to say. Then you start saying things and doing things that he never told you to do. Because you decided to say it and he didn't tell you to do it. Moses prayed for the people. Nah, dog, I'm tired of these people. Strike the rock. Okay, you coming home. That's it. That's it. You coming home. You did something I told you not to do. All the way up until the point you did everything I told you to do. You spoke and said everything I told you to speak. Now you come to this one situation of being disobedient can cause you a life of pain. Doing one thing and saying one thing that the Father never told you to say, he will turn around and lock your jaws. He will turn around and bring deaf ears to the people. Every time you speak, every time you teach, the people don't even hear you. They don't even want to hear you. They don't want to hear you. They don't want to be around you. They don't want to listen to you. Nothing you saying is even elevating them. Nothing that you saying is empowering them. It's because it ain't you. It's because God have turned their ears off. Yah has turned their spirit, closed up their spirit, man. Okay? Because of the things that you saying that he never told you to say. You coming home, dog. Nah. Moses, you coming home. Straight up. Straight up. You're coming home. You're coming home. But I delivered all the children. I did everything you told me. Yeah, you did everything I told you up until this point. Now I got to kill you or take you out so you don't kill nobody else. Because the rate that you're going to kill a lot of folks. So just to save the other people, I got to kill you. I got to kill you so you don't become a problem or kill anybody else killed. Do you know that it's a lot of people out here teaching and saying things that God never told them to say that's going to get a lot of people killed? Because a lot of other people are following what they saying because it sound good. Just because it sound good don't mean it's God. Just because it's a good idea don't mean it's a God idea. Don't mean it's a God idea. But you got a whole lot of people out here doing it. And they wondering why they're struggling. You wonder why. I hear people all the time. So Israel continue to go through this trouble. Israel continue to doing this. Israel just stiff-necked. Israel don't want to get right. Listen, there's nothing new under the sun. Why did they get killed in the wilderness? Because they were disobedient. And yet you got folks out here doing the same thing in the modern day. And you want to blame it on everybody else. You want to blame it on all the nations. And you ain't looking at yourself. Maybe I need to check myself. Am I saying and teaching and following what Christ taught and said to do? Or am I doing it myself? Or am I doing it myself? And you wonder why a lot of people in the situation they're in. It don't have so much to do with Esau. A lot of it got to do with you and what you saying out your mouth and the things that you teaching. That's the problem. But no, it's easy to blame it on the devil. It's easy to blame it on the white man, the Asian man, the Chinese man, the Ukrainian man, the African man. It's easy to blame and shift the blame on everybody else when you are the reason why you're in the situation you're in right now, because you decided to break the covenant and you keep breaking it every single day. But yet it's easy to point fingers at somebody else. Oh, look what they doing. Well, don't you supposed to be the salt of the earth? Aren't you the one supposed to be teaching everybody else? Or have you fallen victim to teaching by wrong motives? And now you continue to teach by wrong motives, and it seems as though you're prospering in teaching by wrong motives, so you won't get rid of it. You won't come up off the wrong motive teaching because it seems to be giving you some form of rulership. It seems to give you some form of power over other people. So therefore, you got them in the forefront, speaking and declaring the things that you're teaching, all while you in the background sitting back. You're going to get other people killed. But you're not escaping the wrath and the judgment. It's going to get you. It's going to get you last, though. You're going to be the last tree fall. You're going to be the last tree fall. Let's keep reading. Look what it says. Verse 3. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, or Jesus Christ. No man that warneth entangled himself with the affairs of this life. No man that is following Christ entangles himself with the affairs of this life. Who cares what these other nations doing? I'm not going to entangle myself into what they doing when my focus is on Christ and teaching the gospel and making sure I present a message of liberation by living righteous, keeping God's commandments, and accepting Christ as the Savior. That's what I'm not getting entangled up into the thing. I don't care what the people in the land of Israel doing, that's in the land today. I don't care what nobody is doing. Okay? I don't care. I could care less. People ask me all the time, man, what you think about this? What's going on? I say, listen, man. The only place that I might give a little attention to, and that's the wrong. That's the only place that I might focus on, that I might say, let me see what they're doing over there. And that's wrong. The same ones who was back there. The last empire. That's it. But I'm not even really paying too much attention to them these days. I'm trying to help spiritually liberate people. That's where the Father has shifted me to. And when it's time to teach, whatever it's time to teach, I'll do it. I may go over here and teach this. I may go over there to teach that. I may go down the middle and teach this. I may walk back there and teach that. But it's all pointing to the kingdom, different subjects. Because I'm listening to what the Father is saying, and I'm following the blueprint. Verse number 4. No man that warreth entangled himself in the affairs of this life, that he may please him who have chosen him to be a soldier. Soldiers. I know I got some former military brothers and sisters on here. Soldiers pay attention to detail and they follow the instructions of their commander. That's what they do. That's what soldiers do. Soldiers are obedient and are disciplined to what is being told to them by the instructions that has been given by their commander. They ain't running off and doing whatever they want to do. They following the plan that's been laid out. Verse number 5. And if a man also strive for masteries, yet is he not crowned, except he strive lawfully. Listen to what he said. He said, listen, this situation, this conversation that I'm having with you, I'm going to help you. I need to help you make sure that your message that you are speaking not only follows the blueprint that Christ gave, but also is a message that is speaking against sin. That's what this message needs to be speaking on. You ain't see Paul teaching him, talking to him about no other nations, talking to him about the Esau and all this other stuff, Japheth. He not dealing like that. Because he understands the problem is sin. That's the problem. The problem in the garden was sin. The problem in 2018 is sin. That's the problem. It's always been the problem. In the garden, what came into the world? Sin. Before disobedience, before not keeping the commandment that was given to them, you ain't had no sin problem. Soon as you didn't do what the Father tell you to do with one thing, I just told y'all, Adam got kicked out of the garden because he disobeyed one thing. Everything else he was told to do, okay, he did it. One thing, don't eat. He partook of it. You out of here. Moses, you did everything I told you to do. One thing, you're out of here. Point blank, period. That's the problem. We have a sin problem. And as long as we got people keep telling you, oh, ain't no sin, grace, I agree in grace. But I don't agree in abusing it. And I don't believe in not teaching, and I don't believe in not teaching against sin. It's a problem. And until we're in glorified bodies, it's going to continue to be a problem because your flesh loves it. Your flesh loves it. And your flesh hates hearing words against it. That's why people will pack a place out. That's why people love to follow people that don't talk about sin. Because their flesh loves it. Their flesh loves it. Their flesh loves it. If you're hearing about boats, cars, houses, and planes, and men, you can have as many women as you want, and you can live whatever lifestyle you want, I'm following you. My flesh is going to say, follow, go there, go over there. Soon you tune into a live and somebody teaching against sin, get off. Get off. Get off that live. Don't listen to that live. No, don't follow that brother. That brother trying to bring you back into bondage when your flesh is actually saying that brother is trying to kill me because I'm ruling you. Get away. Shot fired. Get out of there. Hit the deck. That brother trying to kill you. He's trying to take me out of here. You don't need to hear that. You don't need to hear, no, not him. No, get off immediately. And that's what happened. You go into a place and somebody invite you somewhere to preach and you preaching against sin, you can tell. You can tell. Sometimes the leader will have you to come in and preach against sin because he's scared of losing his folks. And that's the truth. I done heard it before. He don't want to look like the bad guy. So he'll bring in somebody who's going to teach because they got to leave. And when they leave, he got to stay there. He don't want to lose nobody. So he'll bring in somebody else to do the job. Which is a sad case. That's a sad case. He's scared to lose somebody. Let's keep reading it. I'm going to have to do a part 2 to this. I'm going to have to come back tomorrow and do a part 2 to this. All right, let's keep reading here. Look what it says. Verse number 5. Look what it says right here. I'm sorry, verse number 6. The husbandman that laboreth must be first partaker of the fruit. The person that labors got to be first part. You have to be the one to have the fruit, the spirit, the fruit of the Spirit. You have to be the one to have labored with the Father. You have to be the one that have put the prayer time in, the fast time in. You can't tell other people to do it if you ain't partook in it first. You have to be the first partaker of it before you can tell somebody else. Before you can tell somebody else. What did Christ do? In Matthew chapter number 4. It says that he was driven into the wilderness to be tempted. To be tempted. After he went through his situation, next thing you know, he comes down and he comes to Peter there. he comes to the fishermen. He was the first partaker in rebuking sin and rebuking wickedness and speaking against the devil. And after that situation, guess what happened? Now he can go teach others because he overcame what he gonna teach them how to do. Oh man, come on. Y'all, I hope y'all hearing this. He was the first one to overcome temptation so he can teach them how to do it. Man, y'all, come on, man. Y'all, I don't think y'all hear me. I don't think y'all hear what the Spirit is saying this morning or this afternoon. Let's look what it says here. All right, let me see here. All right, I got to get off here. But let's keep reading. Verse number 7. Consider what I say, and the Lord give thee understanding in all things. Look, listen. Look, Paul say, if you consider what I'm saying, if you consider the blueprint that Christ laid forth, if you consider the apostles' doctrine, if you consider and living righteous and keeping the commandments of Yah, if you consider speaking what he told you to speak, if you consider crucifying your flesh, if you consider living how he lived, walked as he walked, talked as he talked, look what Paul said. He says that the Lord will give the understanding in all things. Why? Because now, if you considered it, you doing it, and you are following it, now I can trust you to give you the mysteries. Now I can trust you to give you the revelation. Now I can trust you to send people your way, because you're not going to speak to them as what you see on the outside, but you're going to be able to see spiritually, to speak to them what's going on in their life, to bring liberation to them, to help them walk down the path that I've laid for them. But if you don't consider these things, you cannot change nobody's life. I can't use you as a change agent if you don't consider these things. And this is the reason why people are leaving and coming out of it and leaving. People are turning to Kemet and atheism because people who are trying to teach others have not considered the things of Christ. They ain't considered it. They're not trying to follow it. And they've considered systems over the kingdom. They've considered degrees over the kingdom. They consider fellowships over the kingdom. They consider hanging around their favorite teacher or favorite person that they trying to hang around, or they squad and they clique over the kingdom. And the Father said, I can't use you. And guess what? Because I can't use you, I'm going to use somebody who's not as educated. I'm going to use somebody who don't have the degrees. I'm going to use somebody who never been to school. I'm going to use somebody who don't even look like that I'm with them. And I'm going to put my spirit in them. And when I put my spirit in them, they've gained my trust, and I'm going to pour into them. That's why they couldn't recognize who the Christ was. That's why they couldn't stand John the Baptist, because he didn't look like him, he didn't act like him, he didn't talk like him, and therefore he didn't want to be around them. He didn't care about being a part of the who's who's. When you consider the things of Christ, you don't care about being around the who's who's, because you are on assignment. And when you're on assignment, your voice is going to speak loud. And while your voice speaking loud, the haters who feel as though they should have been qualified to do the job are going to start talking, murmuring, and complaining and speaking all kind of things against you. But it will not prosper, because the intellect and the things that you speak is not based off your own carnal self. Your purpose of study is not motivated by proving how much information you have. Your purpose of study is not proving how you can make somebody look bad. But the purpose of your study is to, one, bring glory to the Heavenly Father. For two, to bring liberation to the people that you're in front of. And for three, so the Father can say, well done, thy good and faithful servant. I'm going to end right there. I love y'all with the love of Christ. I will see y'all on tomorrow with part 2 of this lesson. Why are you studying? What are you motivated for? Are you using it because you want to look good? Or are you using it because you want to make somebody else look bad? I love all of y'all with the love of Christ. I pray that you cannot eat without eating from the word of Yah. For man shall not live by bread alone, but every single word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yah. I pray that you cannot drink without drinking from the living waters that flows from Christ. Let the light that is within you shine bright outside of you. And remember to love one another so that the world may know that we serve the true and living Yah. Love all of y'all with the love of Christ. Grace to you all.